Good afternoon, everyone. I, Dr. Mamta, Assistant Professor in MERI College of Engineering and Technology. Today, I am going to present about a topic that is central to modern marketing, strategy, management, and long-term business. Success, the power of brand, how brand build value and competitive advantage. In today hyper-competitive, globalized and digitally connected marketplace, companies are no longer competing only on product features, pricing strategy or distribution networks. Technology evolves rapidly, competitors can replicate features, price can be undercut, supply chains can be duplicated. However, one element remain extremely difficult to copy, and that is a strong brand. Organizations today compete through perceptions and they compete through reputations. They compete through trust. They compete through emotional connections, and all of these elements are deeply embedded within the branding. If we carefully observe our daily lives, we realize that brands influence nearly every purchasing decisions we make. When we buy a smartphone, we do not simply compare memory size or battery life. We think of brand reputation, innovation, prestige, and ecosystem. When we buy a car, we are not just purchasing transportation, we are choosing reliability, performance status, and identity. Same when we select clothing, food outlets, airlines, cosmetics, or even educational institutions, branding significantly influences our choices. This brings us to an important question. What exactly is a brand? Is it just a logo printed on packaging? Is it merely a name registered legally? Is it simply advertising campaign and celebrity endorsement? The answer is no. A brand is much more powerful and complex. A brand is a promise. A brand is a perception. A brand is a memory structure in the consumer's mind. So, brand is very important. Brand is an emotional and rational relationship between a company and its customer. Most importantly, a brand is a strategic asset capable of generating sustainable, competitive, and competitive advantage. Today, we will explore this concept in depth by examining the evolution of branding, the branding process, the characteristics of branding, successful branding, rational and emotional dimensions. Further, we will discuss about the value created by brands and other important, the importance of brand planning, factor influencing brand potential. There are 8 dimensions which we will study in this PPT, and finally brand as a strategic device. So let us begin with the evolution of branding. So what is evolution of branding? Branding is not a recent phenomena. It has existed for centuries. In ancient civilizations such as Greek and Rome, traders marked their goods and symbols. Since literacy level were low, these visual signs helped customers recognize the origin of goods. These early forms of branding created recognition and trust. Later, during the expansion of cattle farming in North America, ranchers marked their livestock with note irons to establish ownership. The word brand comes from an old term meaning to burn. This practice ensured identification and prevented theft. In its earliest stage, branding primarily signified ownership. As industrialization progressed, markets expand and competition intensified. Consumers were faced with multiple similar products. Branding evolved into a tool for differentiation. Manufacturers began to use brand name and packaging to distinguish their goods from other competitors. Traditional marketing definitions described a brand as a name, symbol, sign, or design used to identify goods and differentiate them from others. However, in the modern era, this definition is insufficient. Today, branding is not only about identification or differentiation. It is about meaning, personality, positioning, reputation, credibility, and emotional resonance. Earlier, a brand answered the question, who made this product? Today, a brand answers, a brand, what is this brand stand for? Yeah, what does this brand stand for? Can I trust this brand? How does this brand reflect my personality? These questions are very important in today's competitive environment. We further question, what value does this brand represent? Thus, branding has evolved from a physical mark into a psychological construct embedded in the consumer's mind. Understanding the branding process is very important. So, let's begin. What is branding process? Branding is not an accidental, it is a structured and strategic process. Consumers do not simply buy products, they buy solutions, experience, and emotional benefit. For example, when a consumer purchases a premium automobile, they are not only buying an engine or wheels, they are buying prestige, engineering excellence, comfort, safety, and social recognition. Similarly, when someone chooses a reputed insurance provider, they are not merely buying a policy, they are buying peace of mind and security. This demonstrates the concept of added value. What is added value? Added value refers to the additional emotional, symbolic, and reputational benefit that a brand contributes beyond the core functional product. Branding transforms a basic commodity into a meaningful offering. The branding process typically includes conducting marketing research to understand customer need, customer requirements, and segmenting the market and identifying target customer, developing a clear positioning strategy, creating a compelling value proposition, designing visual identity elements such as logo and packaging, delivering consistent communication across all channels, ensuring product and service performance matches promises, monitoring brand performance and customer perception. Branding requires consistency across every touch point, advertising, digital platforms, customer service, employee behavior, packaging, pricing, and even corporate social responsibility. And but we take initiative. If a brand promises quality but deliver poor services, credibility collapse. Therefore, branding is not only about communication, it is about performance. Now, we will discuss about the characteristics of a successful brand. What makes certain brand globally successful while other fail? Successful brand possess clarity and focus. They clearly define who they are and what they stand for. They maintain consistent positioning over time. They do not frequently change their identity, they invest in long-term brand equity rather than short-term promotional tactics. They create emotional connections with their target audience. They deliver reliable, functional performance. A successful brands command premium prices because consumers perceive greater value. Strong brands typically demonstrate high brand awareness, clear and consistent identity, strong perceived quality, positive associations, customer loyalty, financial profitability. Brand success, however, depends on consumer perception. Even a well-designed strategy can fail if consumers interpret them negatively. Therefore, successful branding requires continuous research, adaptation, and monitoring. Strong brands are built intentionally and nurtured carefully over time. Now, we will understand rational and emotional dimensions of branding. What is rational and what is emotional dimension regarding brand? Brand satisfies both rational and emotional needs. What is rational needs? Rational needs include quality, durability, efficiency, performance, and price. Emotional needs include prestige, confidence, belongingness, pride, identity, and reassurance. Consider the example of purchasing a smartphone. Rational evaluation may include battery life, camera quality, and processing speed, whereas emotional evaluation may include brand prestige, social approval, design aesthetics, and ecosystem association. In highly competitive market where functional differences are minimal, emotional differences and emotional differentiation becomes a key competitive advantage. Products may be similar, but brands create psychological uniqueness. If a brand fails on rational performance, customer lose trust. If a brand fails emotionally, customer feel no attachment. Therefore, successful branding balances rational reliability with emotional appeal. The value created by our brands is where brand create value for consumer in multiple ways. First, they reduce search cost. Consumers do not need to evaluate every alternative. Second, they provide consistency and reliability. Third, they reduce perceived risk and financial risk. Further, they also reduce performance risk and social risk. Fourth, they provide psychological comfort and confidence. Brands also create value for companies. They allow premium pricing, which is very important for a company. They increase customer loyalty, which is positive for company. They strengthen negotiation power with distributor. They enhance shareholder value. Further, they facilitate brand extension into new category. Now, we will understand about brand equity, which represent the added financial value generated by brand recognition and trust. In many global corporations, brand equity constitute a large portion of total company valuation. Thus, brands are powerful intangible assets.